Morning, folks. Morning, Lorraine, Barbara, Ian, Karen, Neil, Kirsty, Karen, Sharon, Robert, Stephen, Ian again, Kevin, Tina, BJ, John, Margaret. Let's see who's on the other side. Morning, Ali. Morning, Jim. Morning, Hugh. Morning, Stuart. Morning, Dunk. Morning, Scottish van driver. Morning, Eddie. Morning, Thomas. Morning, Graham. Morning, Lenny. Morning, Geordie. Jim. Art Offices. Gemma. Morning, Mr. E. Morning, Evelyn. Stephen. Ray. And the list goes on. James. Alistair. Martin. Hammy. Morning, everyone. Right, we'll get 100 on board, so let's get this broadcast underway. Andy Truck Davey out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast and a chilly 8 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look out your ain't bloody windy. Alright, so let's get a news review underway. This is a news review for the 10th of 10th, 2022. Better known to you and me as yesterday. The Monday started with three main headlines in the rags. The death of serial killer Peter Tobin, the First Minister stating she detests the Tories and all they stand for, and PM scrambles to save her premiership as Tories face wipeout in next UK general election. Okay, now on the death of serial killer Tobin, the rags urge us to remember his victims and not him. They also speculate on how many more people Tobin may have killed. Right? On the First Minister stating she detests the Tories and all they stand for, well, it brings false rage from the English-owned Tory rags here in Scotland, and of course the propaganda machine. There is claims of a backlash over the statement, but there wasn't. There was no backlash. The Unionist press pack also demanded that the First Minister apologise. Nicola was having none of it. None. The Tories, the Tory press pack and the Unionist press pack, they demand an apology to the First Minister. The First Minister says no. Asked if she stood by or regretted her words. The First Minister says, I stand by them, and no, I don't regret them. Okay. But here's a kicker for the loony rags right-wing Unionist press and their feigned outrage. The hashtag I detest the Tories was trending yesterday. Alright, not just in Scotland, but right across these islands. The First Minister of Scotland stands. No backlash. Backlash my bahookie. It backfired on the propaganda machine. Big style. The right-wing loony rags and the BBC, as I say, the false rage and playing victim is a bit like the oppressor playing victim when the oppressed complain about being oppressed. There was no outrage. And as to the Tories being upset that people detest them, well, they've only themselves to blame. They are, after all, immoral. In fact, they're no moral compass whatsoever. They're disgusting. Right. And there's a lot to be detested about the Tories. So let's have a wee run down on some of the things that should be that makes the Tories detestable and detested by most of us in Scotland. 330,000 deaths to austerity, according to the Glasgow Centre of Population Health. The lies that led to Brexit. The draconian bills they've passed since being in power over the last 12 years. The hostile environment towards ethnic diversity. The increase in poverty and homelessness. And the sixth, Poppy's plans to ship asylum seekers to Rwanda, the oppression of the Romano gypsies and the disabled. The list goes on, folks. Human rights breaches pointed out by the UN Special Rapporteur, who was sent here by the United Nations because they tear their human rights abuses against the disabled. The decline in the currency, the crash in the pound, the decline in the economy, the crash in the pound, the Bank of England having to spend 65 billion and more, because they're going back in the day to prop up the bonds markets, to stop us all losing our pensions. They've crashed the housing market, there's rocketing interest rates, and sky-high inflation. I guess I better stop there. I could go on. I really could. But we better just put an end to it there. This whole show will be taken out of it. As I said, there's a lot to be detested about the Tories. And I, #IndieTruckDavy, stand by the First Minister and her statement. In fact, I'll make it myself. I detest the Tories and all they stand for. Along with 90% of the rest of Scotland, or thereabouts. This claim about 600,000 Tory voters in Scotland, I wonder whether they magic that one up for. There isn't 600,000 Tory voters in Scotland. There's 660,000 knuckle-dragging unionists who swung behind the Tory party because they see the Labour Party as weak on the union. Simple as that. And the idea that there was a backlash, my bahookie. The press needs their bahookie slapped. And they need sent to the naughty step. Pure propaganda, pure rubbish, and it backfired. Alright, moving on. Monday. Home Office blocks Holyrood's attempts to open up special visa scheme to allow Holyrood to issue visas to European nations and European citizens to plug the holes in the labour market. Basically, the Home Office is telling Scotland, shut up, Jock, get back in your box, reserve power, we control borders, we control immigration, which is the reason why we're all being tarred with the same brush internationally as the Bampots down the road that voted for the monster in the Home Office. And the Home Office's horrendous hostile environment and their dreams of taking the poor and destitute and those who have fled oppression and war in other nations and stick them onto aeroplanes to Rwanda, another oppressive dictatorship and a hell of a regime. Unbloody believable. Anyway, Scotland can't issue visas to Europeans or people from anywhere else in the world to plug the gaps in the labour market. So there you go. Shut up, Jock, get back in your box. Right, moving on. Also Monday, Angus Robertson, Constitution Secretary, is warned by Professor Nicola McEwen that there will be hold-ups at the border with England if Scotland becomes independent. Davy says, so bloody what? Aye, there'll be hold-ups for goods. There'll be hold-ups for people. We'll stay in a common travel area. We'll just build special lanes for goods to go into. But I don't know why it's McEwen's warning us. It's not our problem. It's their problem. After independence, we'll be opening up international shipping routes. So there'll be very little traffic for Scotland going to England except for what England buys for Scotland. At the moment, the reason why there's so much going down that road is back in the 50s and the 60s, as the empire contracted and less goods were being shipped in and out of that empire, the despicable ones in Westminster gave the order to shut down all of Scotland's international trading ports, to pull most of the bonding licences to the bonding warehouses, and left us with just Grangemouth. And Grangemouth was left because it services the needs of the oil and gas industry. After independence, we will open up international trade routes again via sea, and very little, except for what England needs for us, will go across that border, and what we need for England will go across that border. All the goods that now flow through England into Europe and things like that will leave from Scottish ports. All the goods that leave for the world in Southampton, going to the Americas, will leave from the west coast of Scotland. So, yep, in the short term, there may well be some problems at that border, but there'll not be that big a problem. There won't be.